Back again. Yeah. So I did some work for the town on a cleanup day kind of thing, environmental whatnot, and so yeah, a little bit tired. So off to some other little job, and such. Kind of cold today. Rained hard last night. Wet, windy, and cold, and so I'll talk about how wonderful life is. Yeah, but actually, there's these moments like, there are you meet some nice people and you say, gee, human beings aren't so bad. But it's just such a small percentage of human beings, and just at the right moment too. When they're doing something decent for a change. Anyway, pleasant morning. But ruined my back and tired. Anyway, so my misery me just made a really long video. I've only watched part of it, and he's making a good argument. Just keeps banging away at this idea that philosophers do have to deal with this. They just can't keep saying my desire is so magnificent and so profound. My love of art or space travel or curiosity, it's all worth it because we're curious, or some kind of crap like that. The fact is that this entire biosphere, all these sentient creatures being ground up in this mill, is a tragedy. It is horrible. And, we have to have something more to justify what's happening. I mean, the fact that we didn't make the mess, we didn't start the fire, doesn't mean that we don't have an obligation to justify its perpetuation, fueling it, continuing it, because we have the power now. We have the on and off switch right in our hand. We can turn it off at any minute. And so it exists because we make it exist. And this is sort of important. And it's sort of important in this whole conversation. Because in having conversation with each other and attempting to persuade people, even in politics, you implicate lives in profound ways. If you encourage somebody to have a baby, you're essentially having the baby, right? If you make the difference in their behavior, if you're, if you nag your children, about, when am I going to have some grandchildren? Or you do some kind of crap like that, or you don't inform them about birth control or something else, or inform them about how not to be reckless and stupid, you essentially committed the act. I mean, even though you didn't do the procreating directly, you did it fundamentally. You made it happen. You made it possible. So, I could argue that, I'm trying to persuade people not to have kids. So I could be preventing the next Dr. Kevorkian, for example. Something good could be happening. But obviously, I would argue that more likely I'm preventing the next Ronald Reagan or something horrible from happening. So, the likelihood is there's not going to be a human that will accomplish. There'll just be a human who does what all the humans do, which is march through their existence and on balance leave the world dirtier than it was before they arrived on it. That's what human beings do. We have created a bit of a cesspool, and environmentally, the environment is screaming back at us, I ain't going to take it anymore, and it's looking to give us a little payback. But that's on balance what takes place. That's what, when you roll the dice, this is what comes out, is mediocre human, at best. That's the best description you can have of it, is that it just blights the environment. It degrades it one more bit to our eventual doom in terms of overpopulation and degradation, dirtying, soiling, pooping on. It's just, we're replacing the biosphere with our shit, metaphorically. And literally. But there's this fact to what's going on here, and the fact is that if you endorse it, if you support it, if you feed it, you are creating it. If it exists because of the aid and comfort, so to speak, you gave it, it's up to responsibility. So, here's some of the logs and crap pulled out of the stream area by certain individuals. I see. Of course, I did most of the work. That's the way it works. Especially down here. But anyway, too much wind. This video, I think, is going to fail. It's a wind disaster. Yeah, it was actually a really cold wind this morning, so it was a little raw, brutal, harsh. These are all mine. Mine. And I lifted the tree up so now I can get to my rocks much easier. Selfish interest in the gift giving, convenience gift. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. So this is the consequence, is that we're responsible for what is. We make it happen, we make it possible, because we don't do anything to stop it. It's again back to this, not doing is doing. So if you don't do anything to stop something that you can prevent by merely saying, don't do that, the fact is sometimes you can stop somebody from doing something just by saying, don't do that. It actually works. Saying, don't do that actually does work sometimes. And if you don't take your opportunity to say, don't do that, then you're responsible. In this conversation, I'd say the minimum these other people should be able to give to the argument, the minimum concession, is to say, yeah, this is kind of serious business, this life thing, and nobody should be treading into it recklessly or sloppily. There should be every effort to do it as well as possible, and there's really no excuse for people who can barely take care of themselves attempting to raise new human beings. That should be a minimum statement they're willing to make, and they don't do it just because it sounds too much like they're conceding there is standards that can be applied, because they don't want a standard. Because once you apply a standard of rationality, the fact is they know that the more thought you give that standard, the higher and higher the bar is going to get, and eventually you're going to have to concede that there's no right to create, there's no right to assume productivity in this activity of making creatures, making sentient beings, because there is nothing for them to do but show up with their bag of need tied to them, and to go through the world trying to fill their bag of need, and to extract that satisfaction from a world already blighted by people sucking, people taking. The world's already... Oh, frog went into the leaves there. Thought there might be something worth videoing, but just mud, I'm afraid. So we'll move on. That's the fact of what we are. We're just a need bag. We show up here, we want, we desire, and we perceive importance. We perceive, especially people who have developed some sort of ego manifestation, you have this perception of, well, I'm just too cool not to exist. And I'm certainly, my prodigy are going to be so cool that certainly the world needs them to exist. You need me. You need meanness, to be here. Because, man, you people are really lame. And if you don't have meanness here, you're going to be, this is all going to suck. And there's that notion in people's heads, I suspect. I don't know. It's hard for me to argue it because I don't fully understand this casual stepping into this gigantically huge obligation of being responsible for another entity's existence. But in some sense, people seem very comfortable doing that. And when they defend the rights of people, to do as they choose, in my opinion, they're responsible for all these blights that exist in the world, all this poverty and horror, because they do nothing. They won't even say the words, "Don't do that." And minus those words, the rest of the world is going to keep doing it. So, the benign Catholics who play along with the religion and, let their Pope make declarations about the evils of contraception and the obligation of the poor to blanket the earth with their depravity. What the hell? Guilty, sorry. You're no longer benignly religious, because you're facilitating, you're making possible, because you won't protest, because you won't say no, don't do that. And so it'll just keep happening. People will keep doing it. Because no one will be dragged to the responsibility chair and be required to fill out the obligation form and explain how they've satisfied their obligation to be competent, to be qualified, to be capable, to take on this responsibility to doom things to a fate. If you're going to perpetuate the game, all the things that are going to be implicated by the gameplay, you're sentencing them to their wealth. Whatever happens to them is your fault. You sentence them to it. And, to not take that seriously, to not be humbled by the, aggressiveness of that statement, and to fall back on some, the argument from nature nonsense, where because nature did it, it's all okay. That should have been dispelled in your sensibilities as a reasonable excuse with the, childhood admonitions against, well, if Jimmy jumps off a cliff, are you going to jump off a cliff? This, the non-existent authority. Resorting to nature is resorting to a non-existent authority. There is no nature. There's no nature as a thinking, rational entity. You can't resort to it to defend your judgment. You can't use it as a reference. That's just nonsense. So let's take it as it is. Let's appreciate for what it is. And then do your real work, which is if you're going to defend it, defend it. Explain how there is necessity in another human coming into existence as a needful animal, creature, thing, full of ambition and desire that likely can't be fulfilled or satisfied without knocking somebody down. If I desire to win the gold medal in the Olympics and I succeed in achieving my ambition, somebody else is now going to be a loser. Somebody else is going to go from would have won the gold medal to won't win the gold medal. And that's the truth of our existence. You can't do this for free. You step on this ground, you walk this walk, and things will pay a price for it. That's just the truth. You've got to justify that. And there's no justification in saying, I didn't start the fire. But you're fanning the flames. That little frog, but he escaped my video grasp. It's going to get cold tonight. Froggy better have a jacket of some kind. Anyway. So yeah, that's the truth of this dilemma of life. Is that it's so hard to live it productively. And the only real way you can do it is to be preventing the harm I'm asking you to make some effort to prevent. I'm asking you to be good people and do the right thing and prevent facilitating things that are nothing but opportunity for a mess to be made. There is no accomplishment outside of that, outside of preventing it. The rest of it is just silly notions of accomplishment that have no substance, that are just trading ego satisfaction. For you to get it, somebody else has just denied it. That's the way the fight has to be fought. If you win, something else will likely be losing. It's unfortunately the dilemma. Anyway. So yeah, there needs to be some way to step by step through this argumentation and to force people to deal with. And again, see, they always want to rip it from context. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to step away from the truth of evolution. Natural selection is an ignorant force. My tree is alive. Yay! It's going to survive, I think. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm done. I'm tired. Such work. Oh, this is really great. Sealer on the driveway. Yeah, that's just really great stuff. Yep. It's less than, 4 or 5 months old. It's already chipping off. Crap. Oh, I gotta check my grass. See if any of it's coming up. It's kind of cold, so it might not be up yet. Get the cold. Yeah, anyway, you don't need to do this. It's windy anyway. But yeah, it's all this moss because the grubs ate all the grass. Let's see if there's anything coming up here. There's some grass from the old grass coming up, but new seed isn't coming up yet. I'm going to have to rake up this. Too much moss on here covering the seed, but there it is. Yeah, it's doing well underneath there. Yeah. I don't see any new seed coming up though. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, I'm done. Until the next time, and such and so forth and whatnot. Yeah, I just need, got to find a way to do this arguing step by step.